Wanted to start out and first off, thank you everybody, all the board of directors, all the membership, everyone who volunteers, who isn't members. Without all your help and your volunteerism and your financial support, none of what we do here and what we're about to talk about today is possible. So I just want to say thank you up front from myself, but also from the board to the membership and the volunteers who tirelessly give their time and efforts to help us out, and in particular work on things like water quality sampling, which has been such a mainstay of this organization for so long. And so obviously a year in review would be somewhat remiss without obviously a discussion of the elephant in the room with COVID-19. Definitely an interesting year for us. We started out the first part of the year 2019 fairly on track. Everything was as usual, met in person. And then that all changed obviously come the spring when COVID hit. And so we did a pivot to this Zoom format like we're doing today, and started making some changes in our protocols for some of the programs that we're working on, and basically adapting like everybody else has been adapting to this whole situation. And so can't tell you how amazing it's been to watch people do that and essentially go online and go digital. And it couldn't have been, our timing couldn't have been better. One of the main things that we accomplished this year was the new Friends of Chatham Waterways website. And I encourage you to go to chathamwaterways.org and check it out. We spent a lot of time and effort. Mike Page and other members have really worked hard. There wasn't a single board member who didn't pitch in on all this effort. So we're pretty proud of it. It looks updated. It's got some new features. We also have a donate button on there, so explore that. We've also put a lot of our content that FCW has put out over the years on there as well, the blue pages, the green pages, and a lot of reference materials. So please check that out. We're really proud of it. It's been a big effort over the last 6-8 months. We put out bids for 4 or 5 companies and finally came back and got a really good, really good bid. And I think the results are impressive. So that was the big effort, and thank you everyone for that. Another big component of Friends of Chatham Waterways has always been educational outreach and support. We recognize it's important to train that next generation of resource managers and stewards. And we look to do that, with a local flair too. And so in order to support that, Friends of Chatham Waterways seeks out some grants we've done in the past, and this year was no exception. Thanks to the efforts of Barbara Cottenham, we secured our 8th Dreyfus grant for the total of $4,800 for this year for 2020. That brings the total to $36,300 total to date over the course of about 8 years that we've applied, and it's been critical to our ability to support the scholarships and grants. And Barbara has been integral to that process, and I can't thank her enough. We also have given out over $88,000 since 2007 to local scholarships, again, emphasizing the need to train local students to become those resource managers and stewards of the future. This year was no exception. We handed out a couple of grants to the Monomoy School District local teachers. This year seemed to be the 7th graders theme, we had 2 grant proposals that supported opportunities for the 7th graders at Monomoy Middle School. One was for a trip to Muddy Creek and the Cape Cod National Seashore, where the students were going to engage in water quality testing and learning how to sample vegetation and look at water quality issues in the field. And then also a grant request for money to support a couple trips out to Cuttyhunk for the 7th graders. And that was to support a book they were reading by Lauren Wolk. It was based on life on Cuttyhunk. It was going to support natural history hikes and transportation to and from the island. Given the COVID situation, obviously those were not able to be implemented by the teachers. So they're on hold, and we're looking for them to reapply again in 2020. And we look to use money then to support that if those trips are available and in their wheelhouse again this year. And then also we handed out $9,000 in student grants as well. We supported 7 undergrad and 2 graduate students, again, local on the Cape. And one of those students has deferred due to the COVID situation. So despite what's going on out there, we feel it's important, even more so in times like this with what's going on. So we had a strong year, and we look to support that again next year as well. So thank you for everyone who worked on the grants and scholarships committees and made that possible. It was not a small effort. One other big initiative we've begun here at Friends of Chatham Waterways this year was a strategic planning initiative. We recognized that hadn't happened in all the time that Friends of Chatham Waterways has been in organization. So the board agreed to allocate some budget, and we contracted Ridley and Associates and Carol Ridley, who is very familiar with the local area, being a part of Pleasant Bay Association. And so I think she has a very good perspective on what we do and has some insights, and she's been guiding us through that process. We've just begun the spring. We've looking at some of the strategic planning initiative expectations, looking at our mission statement. We're also about to engage in a programmatic review and look at what we've done in the past, what we do in the present, what we do want to do in the future, what our strengths and weaknesses are. And we're going to engage the membership at that point as well. We'd like to hear from you and hear what you have to think about who we've been, what we do, and where we're going. And then also Carol's going to help us develop strategies and actions and initiatives that are going to implement that, those programs. And I think you'll see Friends of Waterways starting to go in some newer directions, but also supporting some of our, older programs that we've done, like water quality testing and coast sweep and you name it. So, and then lastly, we'll do a administrative review. We're looking at our committees, our operations, even our bylaws, and maybe our relationship with other local organizations, you name it. So a exciting opportunity for us to get a new path documented and engaged from input from all members of the community. And we're looking to implement that as we move forward into the fall. And then lastly, I want to say that we, despite the situation with COVID, we were able to continue the estuary and the cyanobacteria water quality testing will continue. While we're not actually supporting the field testing, we are supporting AAC, Association of Preserved Cape Cod, who's doing the actual sampling this year and continuing it. But notwithstanding, the water watchers are still out on the estuaries every couple weeks collecting water, and that continues. However, the pond baseline sampling program we have is on hold at this time. Between the website, our scholarship efforts and our strategic planning initiative, I felt like we had a fairly strong year and made some good progress, and I think we'll be well set up to move onward into 2021 and be nimble and adaptive. And we look forward to hearing from you about what you think about us and directions you'd like to see us go. So with that, I would like to wrap up the review and actually move on to the next order of business, which is to call the 2020 annual meeting to order. I did give you some simple housekeeping before this. We are going to make a couple of votes. Please keep yourself muted unless you're making a motion or a second or making a comment or presenting. And then one last piece for the Q&A for Dr. Francis at the end. That is through the Zoom chat session on your control bar down there. You can bring up the chat. Please feel free to type in a chat question and make sure it goes to all panelists and attendees. There's a little drop-down menu so we can all see it, and then I will read them off and for Dr. Francis. So without further ado, I think we're pretty good, Mike, on a quorum on numbers. Where are we at this point?
We have 23 attendees and 17 panelists, so there's 40 people here.
So we are good on a quorum. Do you confirm that, Kristen? Behalf of the secretary, confirming that. First order of business is to approve the 2019 annual meeting minutes. Looking for a motion to approve those annual meeting minutes from last year. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and can I have the vote there? Mike, please. Go ahead and vote if you would, please, to approve last year's minutes. Oh. Hey, Mike, the hosts and panelists can't vote, it says. Try one more time. Please hold 1 sec. There we go. Now give it a shot. All right, Mike, the results, please, sir.
26 yes, 0 no.
All right, so moved. The 2019 annual meeting minutes are approved. Thanks, Mike. All right, on to the next order of business, the treasurer's report from Bob Samuelson. Bob, go ahead and unmute yourself if you would, sir, and present.
Okay, thank you. Everybody hear me, hopefully. I'm going to try to be fairly quick about this. I always remind people at the beginning of this report that Friends of Chatham Waterways actually has no employees. It has no paid staff. Everything is done by volunteers, by volunteer board, by volunteer water testers, by volunteer beach sweep cleaning people. And so actually the magnitude of our activity is quite a bit bigger than our financial footprint. But that said, let me describe our financial footprint. We have 3 sources of revenue. The first is contributions and dues that come from individuals and families. We do a spring membership drive and we do a fall annual appeal, and we get contributions from $25 to probably as much as $500 from a fairly large number of people. We get grants from foundations. That has principally been the Dreyfus Foundation, as Jeff alluded to, and we get a small amount of interest income. So we look at the contributions and dues. Next slide. Over the past 6 years, we've averaged about $17,300 per year. In 2019, we actually did especially well and collected $18,710. In 2020, we had budgeted to do about $17,700. And if you don't listen to anything else in my presentation, this is the one point I want to make, which is we didn't have a particularly good spring membership drive. My own belief is that we launched it literally right as the coronavirus was hitting, and that people were appropriately focused on other things. But if we take the first half of the year and try to extrapolate it, it looks like we might end up as low as $13,500 and $4,200 below budget, or 24%. So I point that out because I really would like to appeal to people to, support the organization, the good work we do, and to contribute either now or when the fall annual appeal comes around. Next slide. Foundation support, Jeff already talked about. Dreyfus has been very good to us. In fact, they've funded about 41% of our scholarship grants over the last 13 years, but we have funded the other 60% of it. And we did receive a grant from Dreyfus this year of $4,800. Next. Interest income, we collect 150 to 300 bucks of interest income a year, depending on our cash balances. Not a big deal. And so total revenues, next slide. If you think of us as averaging just over $20,000 over the last 6 years, probably slightly more than that in the past few years, then we can talk about where the money goes to. Let's go to expenses. Really, we fund 4 things: the scholarships that Jeff talked about, the educational grants, which Jeff talked about, administrative expenses, and one-off expenditures, and I'll sort of describe the one-off expenditures when we get to it. Scholarships slide. I think Jeff has really already covered this, but I will just highlight that in 2019, we funded more scholarships than we ever have, 6 students for $11,500. And in 2020, we will have funded 9 students for $9,000, although as Jeff pointed out, 1 student is going to defer their education for a year. So we'll fund it next year, but it will be deferred. And then the educational grants, again, Jeff described the $4,000 that we awarded this year, although it won't get spent probably until next year. We did fund $6,300 in 2019. Sorry, $6,300 in 2018, $4,000 in 2019. So we've been consistently funding over $4,000. Then administrative expenses. Again, there are no paid staff. So what are our administrative expenses? It's really communicating with the members. So it's advertising, printing, copying, and postage. When we mail to people, when we send out constant contact to people, when we reach people through Facebook and the website, and we maintain those platforms, that's sort of all administrative expense. And it's been averaging about $6,000 a year. Most of that is really postage and printing. Next slide. And then the one-off expenditures. One of the things we've been pleased to be able to do, I think, is to fund some things that don't come along as a regular occurring basis. So in 2018 through 2019, we basically seeded the development of the cyanobacteria testing program in the ponds. Now in 2020 and going forward, the town of Chatham has really taken over those expenses from us. But we sort of did the startup on those 7,000 plus in 2018 and 2,400 in 2019. In 2019 and 2020, we've spent about $4,000, as Jeff alluded to, updating the website, which needed to be done, and updating our Facebook presence and generally our web presence, and encourage you to go look at that. And as Jeff alluded to, in 2020, we're budgeting to spend $4,000 to do an update to our strategic plan. So if you sort of piece that all together, 2019 really was a very good year. Record revenues at $24,800 on line 4, record scholarship grants and educational grants, but not for the one-time IT web development expense, we would have had a small profit. As it was, we ran a small deficit, not a big deal. The budget, as I said, we're underperforming on the contributions and dues side. When you look at that right-hand column, our forecast suggests we're not going to get to 17,700 unless the fall goes quite a bit better, and I'm hopeful that it will. The foundation support on line 2 we've already gotten, and we're pretty much locked into our expenses. We funded the scholarships, we funded the IT and web development. We know we're going to fund the 4,000 in strategic planning. So at this point, we're looking at running a small deficit, but again, I'm hopeful that if people are responsive to the fall appeal, that we'll manage to wipe that out, but it remains to be seen. And then if you go to the balance sheet, we really don't have, again, any facilities, any fixed assets. Basically, we've got cash and cash equivalents that earn some interest. We have no unrecorded liabilities, and we have a bank balance in effect of about $61,000, which bounces up and down during the year, but we should finish close to that at the end of this year. And hopefully if we can wipe out the deficit, we'll finish exactly at 62,000. So that's basically it. Let me turn it back over to Jeff.
All right, thanks, Bob. Appreciate that overview. We need to take a vote here on the 2020 and 2021 Treasurer's Report and 2020 budget. Do I have a motion to approve the budget or the report and the 2020 budget as presented by Bob Samuelson?
So
Make a
moved.
motion. So moved.
Have a second? Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, then go ahead and do your vote there. Thanks, Mike. All right, let's have the results if you would, Mike. All right, so moved. Do I have a motion to have the 2021 dues that should read, I apologize, 2021 dues remain at $25 an individual or $40 for a family?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mike, may I have the vote, please, sir? All right, go ahead and vote. All right, Mike, could I have the results, please? All right, so moved to have the 2021 dues remain at $25 and $40 respectively for individuals and families. All right, thank you. Moving on to the next order of business. The nominating committee has come up with a slate of officers, and we have two new board of directors this year that we need to approve. I'd like to give a quick overview of our new board of directors, Susan Mackey and Richard Hoyt. Richard Hoyt has been coming to Chatham for 61 years. He lives in town for 3 years full time now, avid sailor, and has been connected to the water his entire time. For years, his family's property has been used by commercial fishermen in Stage Harbor, and he understands the importance of access to waterways and docks to the local fishermen. Richard has expressed interest in getting involved in the FCW outreach and local committees and in particular with engaging with the town of Chatham. And then we also have Susan Mackey. Susan has joined us this year. She is recently retired. She was she owned and operated the Aquacultural Research Corporation in Dennis for over 40 years, and she helped to develop the nascent aquacultural industry here on the Cape. She is a cyanobacteria monitor on Lover's Lake, and she volunteers for Town of Chatham's shellfish propagation program currently. So we're excited to have them on board with us. Can I have a motion to adopt the new board members, the slate of two members, Richard Hoyt and Susan Mackey?
So moved.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All right, Mike, may I have the vote, please, sir? All right, everyone cast your ballot. All right, Mike, can I have the results, please? All right, welcome aboard, Susan and Richard. So moved to accept the new board of directors as presented by the nominations committee. And then secondly, we have a slate of officers, myself as president, again, Tom King and Frank Messina serving as co-vice presidents, Bob Samuelson as our treasurer, and Kristen Andres as our secretary. May I have a motion to approve the slate of officers as presented by the nomination committee?
So
So
moved.
moved.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
If I didn't move it.
Can I have the vote there, Mike?
There's no way to
Right.
abstain.
All right, could I have the results, please, Mike? All right, so motion to, or vote to approve the slate of officers as presented by the nominations committee is approved. Thank you for the votes, everybody. And we are on to the last piece of business here, which brings us to the annual Captain's Award. And this year we are presenting the 2020 Captain's Award to a former president of the organization, the Reverend Dr. William C. Coleman. And we have a short video here for the presentation of the Captain's Award. And I'm going to stop sharing, Mike. I'll hand over to you.
Sorry, hold on a moment. It's not appearing as an option right now. Hold on a moment, please.
Here, I can play it, Mike. Want me to do that?
Sure, Jeff, go ahead. Just make sure you share computer sound and optimize screen sharing. It didn't appear on my computer for some reason as an option.
Let me see if I can get it running here. It's not letting me play it either, Mike. Let me see here. Sorry, everyone, bear with us. Oh, there we go.
I'd like to thank you all for coming. This is a momentous occasion for Mr. Bill Coleman winning the FCW 2020 Chairman's Award. I have a little speech I'd like to give here on Bill's behalf. Bill served on the FCW board since 1990 and served 2 terms as president. I think I got that right. While on the board, he championed environmental issues facing the town of Chatham and also served on many committees. With his solid leadership skills, that was key. Bill was always get to business now.
And go home.
Bill was a steadfast volunteer for Chatham Water Watchers for several decades and was also an integral person involved in the FCW Blue Pages, which was a momentous, big production. Took us almost over 2 years to do. A guide to protecting our waters in 2009. As a former Commodore of Stage Chatham Yacht Club, Bill was always community-minded, and he later helped form Pleasant Bay Community Boating, PBCB, with the noble idea of providing sailing opportunities and lessons to local families who otherwise had no access. With his hard work and leadership, Bill led PBCB to their new campus as president. Very impressive up on the bluff of Pleasant Bay. Bill, for all you have done for Chatham over the years, we are sincerely grateful and inspired by your example. On behalf of the entire FCW Board of Directors, we award you the 2020 FCW Captain's Award.
Thank you.
This is a token of our appreciation. And again, you are truly a captain, and you led FCW through some interesting times, and we do appreciate it. This plaque here which you'll join the other names on it, hangs at the town hall.
A little overwhelmed, I will admit. I think I'll not say much, except that when you think about it, except one thing. I have never met an organization such as FCW who has had the most outstanding people. Some of them major leaders, but also just great people. And it's been fun to work with. I've had a great time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Jeff, it's on you.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you very much. Congratulations, Dr. Reverend Coleman. Glad we were able to present that to you and that the rest of the membership got to see that. Thank you for taking care of that, Tom and Frank. And looking forward to seeing the award up in Town Hall there. And so with that, I believe we are done with the 2020 FCW annual meeting via Zoom, a little bit truncated, but business has been conducted. May I have a motion to adjourn the annual meeting at this time?
So move.
Second.
Second.
Mike, vote, and we should be good to go. Okay, and I think we are good to close the order of business and move on. Appreciate it. And one last piece here. We are almost to the end of the meeting. I don't know if many of you know that one of our long-term directors, Barbara Cottenham, has decided to step down this year after serving as a director since 2011. She served as a two-term president, and I was looking at my roles matrix today. She serves on currently 6 committees, and 2 of which she chairs, as well as all the other stuff that she does to support both the board of directors and the organization. She's an avid horticulturist. She's the author of the Green Pages, which we've posted on our website that talks about using native plants and invasive species management, and in particular, how to use that on your own properties. And she's engaged in local restoration projects locally that she uses those skills on. And she's just been an amazing part of the organization for going on a decade now, and we're going to miss you greatly, Barbara. I'm glad that Tom could come over and deliver a token of our appreciation from the board. But we're going to miss your enthusiasm and your role here on the board, and we've got some big shoes to fill. So thank you, Barbara, and lastly, thank you to all for joining us today. Once again, please visit our new website at chathamwaterways.org. We spent a lot of time and effort on it. Don't overlook the donate button. And then as one last piece of public service here, Coast Sweep is a little bit uncertain this year. Usually occurs in September. Still working on some dates, but hopefully we can get some people out onto the waterways to help clean up some trash this fall. But if we can't do it through the normal Coast Sweep organization, I encourage you to do it yourself, which seems to be a theme during this COVID crisis. So once again, thank you all for joining us. And with that, I would like to conclude the 2020 Friends of Chatham Waterways annual meeting. So thank you for joining us. Have a great evening. Stay safe.